12,000 years ago, long before the first cities or farms, stone pillars rose from bare earth, precision carved by unknown hands. We have uncovered sites too old for history. Artifacts shaped for flight, when no one should have dreamed of the sky, and caverns engineered without a trace of written memory. Each discovery in this journey rewrites what we thought we knew, yet for every answer a deeper question waits in the shadows. How could ancient civilizations achieve the impossible? And what truths still sleep beneath the dust? On a barren hillside in southeastern Turkey, stone pillars rise from the earth, some standing 5 meters tall, each weighing as much as 20 tons. Radiocarbon analysis places their creation between 9,600 and 8,200 BCE, making Göbekli Tepe the oldest megalithic site ever uncovered. These T-shaped monoliths are carved with foxes, snakes, wild boar, and abstract symbols, their surfaces chiseled with flint and obsidian tools long before metal was known to humankind. Excavations led by the German Archaeological Institute reveal something even more astonishing. There is no trace of houses, hearths, or burials among the circles. There is no sign of farming, no domesticated animals, no settled village. Instead, the earth yields only wild cereals, animal bones from gazelle and aurochs, and the charred remains of ancient fires. Jens Nottroff, a field archaeologist who has spent years mapping the site's stratigraphy, notes that no other place from this era shows such scale and symbolism without daily life, just gathering, building, and leaving. Layer upon layer, the ground tells of enclosures built, used, then intentionally buried. LiDAR and geomagnetic scans reveal at least 20 more rings still hidden beneath the soil. The pillars were quarried from local limestone, shaped and raised using only stone hammers and human muscle. Experimental archaeology suggests hundreds of people, possibly from scattered bands, must have worked together, returning season after season. But with no city, no farms, and no written language, the question lingers in the dust and silence. What force brought these people together? And what purpose drove them to build a monument before the world had even learned to plant a seed? In 1898, deep inside a Ptolemaic tomb at Saqqara, excavators brushed the dust from a small wooden figurine. Carved from sycamore, just 15 centimeters long, its wings sweep out in a gentle curve. The tail rises sharply, more like a vertical fin than anything seen in the birds of the Nile. Dated to around 200 BCE, the Saqqara Bird sits quietly in the Egyptian Museum, its purpose still unsettled after more than a century of study. Curiosity drew engineers and scientists to its form. In the 1970s, a team at the Egyptian Museum built a replica and placed it in a wind tunnel. The results were mixed. Some tests suggested the model could glide just barely, if thrown by hand. Later, a Cairo University group ran their own experiments, using three-dimensional scans to reconstruct the artifact's contours. Their findings: the figurine is marginally stable in unpowered flight, but not capable of true sustained gliding. CT scans in 2023 revealed no hidden mechanisms, no sign of moving parts or internal weights. The wood is solid, the construction simple. These experiments teased the idea of early flight, but could not prove it. Egyptologists like Dr. Salima Ikram point to the context: a tomb filled with ritual objects and votive offerings. Perhaps it was a weather vane, a child's toy, or a symbol of the soul's journey. But the twice-angled tail, so unusual in Egyptian bird art, keeps the debate alive. Was this a forgotten experiment in ancient aerodynamics, or a coincidence born of craft and imagination? The Saqqara bird remains suspended between science and mystery, its true story still out of reach. In the summer of 1992, in the quiet village of Xi'an Beikun, a group of farmers drained a pond in search of fish and instead uncovered the mouth of an impossibly vast stone chamber beneath their feet. As word spread, more ponds were emptied, and by the end of the year, 24 interconnected caverns had been revealed, each one echoing like a cathedral, each wall marked with perfectly parallel grooves. The Longyou Caves stretch beneath the hills of Zhejiang, their ceilings arched and their pillars aligned with uncanny symmetry. Not a single artifact, inscription or tool has ever surfaced from the silted floors. No ancient scroll or dynastic record mentions their construction. The walls of the caves bear the signature of thousands of hand-carved lines, yet the debris, millions of cubic meters of stone, has vanished without a trace. A regional surveyor called in to inspect the site, traced his palm along the smooth ridges and shook his head. He said every mark is deliberate. But nowhere in the county archives, nowhere in the imperial records, is there a word about who carved these or why. Geologists estimate the caves could be over 2,000 years old, but with no datable material, the true age remains a guess. Engineers marvel at the scale. Each chamber rivals the size of a modern aircraft hangar. Their columns set in precise grids, their floors and ceilings so even that a marble rolls straight from end to end. No soot stains the ceilings, no evidence of habitation or ritual appears in the dust. The only certainty is absence, a silence so complete it raises new questions with every echo. Why would such monumental labor be hidden from all written memory? What purpose did these silent cathedrals serve, lost beneath the earth, waiting centuries to be found? In 1901, sponge divers searching the rocky waters off Antikythera, Greece, pulled from a shipwreck a corroded bronze lump, its surface tangled with the faint outline of gears. At first, it was dismissed as debris, but decades later, beneath layers of rust, X-rays and CT scans revealed a device of astonishing complexity, crafted nearly 2,100 years ago, sometime between 150 BCE and 100 BCE. The Antikythera mechanism contains at least 37 interlocking bronze gears, their teeth cut with a precision that would not be rivaled for more than a millennium. Modern imaging exposes a world within, spiral dials to track the metonic cycle, tiny inscriptions naming planets and eclipses, and a system of bearings and axles so compact that even today, engineers marvel at its miniaturization. The device could predict the motions of the sun and moon, the timing of eclipses, and the dates of ancient games. It is an analog computer centuries ahead of its time. Dr. Tony Freeth, who leads the Antikythera research team, says that no other artifact from antiquity approaches this level of mechanical sophistication. Yet, the mechanism stands alone. No workshop records, no blueprints, no similar devices have ever surfaced from the ancient world. Inscriptions hint at a connection to Rhodes, a center of Hellenistic science, but the names of its makers are lost to history. The ship that carried it sank with statues, glassware, and luxury goods, suggesting a wealthy patron and a world of knowledge on the move. But after this single device, the trail goes cold. For over 1400 years, the secrets of geared calculation vanished, only to reappear in the clockmakers' workshops of medieval Europe. How could such knowledge be born, perfected, and then simply disappear? The Antikythera mechanism remains a solitary messenger from a forgotten age of invention, an enigma rusted by the sea and time. A clay jar, sealed for centuries, rests on a laboratory table. Its surface is rough, streaked with mineral stains from the soil of ancient Mesopotamia. Inside, a copper cylinder wraps around an iron rod. The metal's corroded but still distinct after 2,000 years. An archaeometallurgist, hands steady and practiced, fills the jar with a splash of vinegar, a simple acid. Wires connect the iron and copper to a voltmeter. The needle stirs, then rises. Not much, a fraction of a volt, sometimes a little more, but unmistakable. The Baghdad Battery, first unearthed near Kujut Rabu in 1936, delivers a current of 0.5 to 1.5 volts, just as British Museum tests confirmed in the 1980s. Acidic liquids seem to activate the device, but no ancient text mentions electricity, and no lamps or wires have been found with it. The laboratory hums with quiet debate. Was this a tool for electroplating, a medical instrument, or simply a vessel for sacred scrolls or ritual oils? The corrosion patterns hint at chemical reactions, but nothing proves intentional use as a battery. Some researchers have tried to gild small objects using replicas, but results are inconsistent, and no plated artifacts from the period have been matched to this technology. The archaeometallurgist leans over the voltmeter, brow furrowed. She says it works as a cell, but that does not mean it was meant to. The device remains a riddle, functioning in the lab, but silent on its real purpose. No instructions, no workshop drawings, only a handful of similar jars scattered across museum shelves. It is either proof of ancient curiosity or an accident of chemistry awaiting a use we may never know. A battered sheet of copper, greened by centuries of corrosion, lay hidden in a Judean cave until 1952. Unlike the parchment and leather scrolls found nearby, This artifact was hammered from nearly pure copper, so hard that scholars had to cut it into strips just to read the text. The writing, in a style of Hebrew from the late Second Temple period, lists 64 locations, each promising a cache of gold, silver, or sacred vessels. The copper scroll stands apart from other Dead Sea Scrolls. Not a prayer, not a story, but a catalogue of hidden wealth, inscribed sometime between 50 and 100 CE. Over the decades, the scroll's metallic surface has been analyzed by metallurgists and conservators. X-ray fluorescence confirms its composition. Over 99% copper, with traces of tin and lead, hammered thin and etched with a sharp stylus. The script is terse, almost cryptic. Each entry names a place, under a step, inside a cistern, beneath the third stone from the north. But the landmarks are vague, and the directions are tangled in a web of ancient geography now lost to time. The promise of treasure has drawn more than scholars. Since the 1950s, official expeditions and clandestine diggers alike have scoured the hills around Qumran and Jerusalem. Israeli police records from the 1960s document arrests, standoffs, and even threats of violence among competing searchers. Yet, not a single cache described on the scroll has ever been recovered. Dr. Ada Yardeni, one of the scroll's longtime curators, calls the artifact a riddle written in metal, real enough to touch, but leading only to empty earth. Was the copper scroll a real inventory, a coded legend, or a ritual text meant to safeguard secrets forever? Its entries remain unclaimed, its copper surface holding a silence as impenetrable as the caves where it once lay. The artifact endures as a testament to records outpacing the evidence, a map without a key, challenging each new generation to decipher what, if anything, was meant to be found. A battered parchment, drawn in 1513 by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, has ignited debates among scholars and conspiracy theorists alike. Its faded lines trace the jagged coasts of Africa and South America with remarkable fidelity for its time, but it is the southern edge, a curling, uncertain landmass that has fueled wild speculation for decades. Some claim these contours reveal Antarctica, drawn centuries before its official discovery, and more mysteriously, before it was locked beneath ice. Yet a closer reading of the map, and of Piri Reis's own notes, tells a different story. Piri Reis openly described how he compiled his chart from 20 older sources, including 8 Ptolemaic maps, several Portuguese and Arabic charts, and even a map attributed to Columbus that is now lost to history. Cartography specialist Chet Van Duzer points out that the map's southern coastlines are not evidence of secret knowledge, but rather the product of copying errors, guesswork, and the confusion that swept across Europe and the Ottoman world as explorers returned with tales of new lands. The map's style, a web of compass roses and radiating lines, matches the Portolan charts common among Mediterranean navigators, designed for sailors, not as scientists. No mathematical projection underpins its geography. The further south the map stretches, the more its features drift into speculation. Modern overlays and digital mapping studies show that what some interpret as Antarctica is in fact a distorted extension of South America, shaped by the limitations of early 16th century mapmaking. The supposed ice-free coastline, only appears when the original is twisted to fit modern expectations. No contemporary evidence, and no mention in Piri Reis's own commentary, supports the idea that he or his sources knew of Antarctica at all. Yet the enigma endures. The Piri Reis Map stands as a testament to the chaos and ambition of early cartography, where rumour, error, and genuine discovery collided on a single sheet of parchment. Its mystery is not of hidden continents, but of how knowledge, fragmentary, second-hand, and sometimes misunderstood, can be transformed into legend. High on the windswept Andean plateau, the ruins of Puma Punku scatter across the plain. Massive stone blocks sit as if tossed by giants, their faces so sharply cut that a razor blade can slide between them. The air smells of dust, and the layout reads like geometry carved in stone. Archaeological surveys measure some of these blocks at over 130 tons. They are carved from andesite, a volcanic rock harder than the steel tools thought available to the builders. The most famous shapes are the H-blocks, geometric forms with right angles, grooves, and interlocks so precise that the joints measure less than 0.2 millimeters apart. Even today, with laser levels and diamond saws, matching this precision on such a scale would challenge any engineer. Alan Colata, an archaeological engineer who has studied the site for decades, points to the core dilemma. The stones are too heavy to move by hand, yet the cuts are too fine for any known Bronze Age tool. Replication experiments began in the 1990s, inviting local stonemasons to try their hand with hammerstones and copper chisels. The results fall short. Edges crumble, corners round off, and the signature H-block channels remain elusive. Modern Andean artisans using only hand tools cannot reproduce the original finish or the seamless joints. Power tools and diamond blades leave marks that do not match the ancient surfaces. No written record describes the methods. No workshop debris, no broken chisels, and no discarded templates have surfaced in the soil. Oral histories trace the stones to ancestral builders, but the details have faded into legend. The stones lie scattered, their purpose and the secret of their construction locked within their perfect geometry. How did ancient engineers achieve such mastery over stone? And what tools have vanished from the archaeological record? The question lingers, unanswered, among the silent blocks of Puma Punku. Above the city of Cusco, the walls of Sacsayhuamán snake across the Andean ridge, massive, jagged, and unyielding. The stones that make up these ramparts defy simple explanation. Some weigh over 100 tons, each one shaped into a polygon so complex that no two are exactly alike. Their faces are smooth, the edges beveled, and the fit so perfect that a knife blade cannot slip between them. Rain, wind, and centuries of earthquakes have battered these walls, yet the stones remain locked together, unmoved. Andean engineers, both ancient and modern, have studied the geometry of these joints. The blocks interlock in 3 dimensions, distributing force across their faces and corners. When the earth shakes, a regular occurrence in this seismic zone, the energy ripples through the wall, but the stones refuse to topple. Instead, they settle more tightly, each angle and curve absorbing the shock. Peru's Ministry of Culture confirms that the builders used andesite, and diorite, rocks harder than any tool the Inca are known to have possessed. Hammerstones and sand abrasion may have shaped the surfaces, but no written record describes the full technique. Replication attempts by local stonemasons have produced close fits, but never the same seamless joins or the scale of the original construction. An Andean analyst, tracing the lines of the wall, observes that this is not just sculpture. It is adaptive architecture, a living response to the earth itself. The walls of Sacsayhuamán are more than a show of strength or artistry. They are a silent calculus, geometry set in stone, designed to endure what nature brings. What knowledge of forces, angles, and resilience guided these hands? The secret lies locked in the joints, as unyielding as the mountain itself. Scattered across the green plains and river valleys of southern Costa Rica, hundreds of stone spheres rest where jungle once hid them from the world. Some are no larger than a child's marble, while others weigh more than 16 tons and measure more than 2 meters in diameter. The stones, carved from dense granodiorite, are nearly perfect. Laser scans conducted by archaeologists at the National Museum of Costa Rica reveal a margin of error as little as 2 millimeters across the surface. Out of more than 300 known spheres, many show this same uncanny precision, a geometric feat rarely matched in the ancient world. The spheres first came to light in the 1930s, a surprising discovery unearthed by banana plantation workers clearing the floodplain. As the earth was stripped away, the stones appeared in clusters and lines, sometimes aligned with the rising sun or arranged to mark the edges of ancient settlements. Yet no inscriptions or carvings break their smooth surfaces, and no tools or workshop debris have been found nearby. Carbon dating of nearby pottery suggests the Dickey culture shaped these stones between 600 CE and 1000 CE, but the exact methods remain uncertain. Archaeologists have tried to reconstruct the process, theorizing about pecking, grinding, and polishing with sand and water. But the scale and consistency of the results still puzzle even seasoned experts. Dr. Francisco Corrales, a leading researcher on the spheres, stands among them and shakes his head. He says, "We can measure their perfection, but we cannot measure their purpose." Theories abound. Some say the spheres were status symbols. Others think they marked burial sites or served as astronomical markers. Oral histories, fragmented by colonial disruption, offer only silence. The spheres remain, silent and inscrutable, their meaning lost to the centuries. They are neither map nor message. They are a riddle in stone. Why would a people pour such effort into perfecting the circle? And what story did they hope these silent sentinels would carry into the future? Beneath the waves off Yonaguni Island, a series of vast stone terraces loom in the blue-green quiet. Their edges so straight and their steps so regular that divers have nicknamed it the Japanese Atlantis. Discovered in 1987 by Kihachiro Aratake, the formation lies between 5 and 25 meters below the surface. Its broad platforms and angular ledges stretch for nearly 50 meters, rising in stacked layers that resemble a sunken ziggurat. But the debate over its origins runs far deeper than the water above. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura points to what he believes are chisel marks, wedge holes, and even carved symbols on the stone. He argues these features betray the touch of ancient hands, perhaps the remnants of a civilization drowned at the end of the last ice age. Yet most geologists remain unconvinced. They see the monument as a product of natural jointing, where tectonic forces and centuries of wave action have split the sandstone along its natural plains. Similar formations line the nearby coast, shaped by the same relentless processes. They're blocks and steps formed by water, not by tools. No pottery tools or artifacts have been recovered from the terraces. Sediment cores that might settle the question by revealing when the structure last stood above sea level remain unpublished or incomplete. Without evidence of human presence, the monument's true nature remains uncertain. As one marine geologist cautions, the mind is quick to find patterns, especially in the silence of the deep. But the lines between nature's architecture and human ambition are not always clear, and the Yonaguni monument keeps its secrets beneath the shifting currents. At the temple of Seti I in Abydos, a weathered lintel draws curious eyes. Its surface, layered with centuries of plaster and paint, holds a puzzle that has fueled decades of speculation. Glyphs seem to morph into the outlines of a helicopter, a submarine, even a jet, images impossible for the pharaohs to have imagined. But this illusion is no message from the distant future. Egyptologist Dr. Salima Ikram stands beneath the carvings, tracing the faint lines where new plaster was laid over old, where the names of one king were replaced by another. In ancient Egypt, it was common practice for rulers to overwrite the legacies of their predecessors. Craftsmen filled old inscriptions with fresh plaster, then cut new hieroglyphs into the same stone. Over centuries, as the plaster crumbled and flaked, the two layers bled together, creating accidental hybrids, glyphs that never existed in any scribe's mind. High-resolution imaging and microscopic analysis confirm the overlapping strokes and the mismatched edges, where Seti I's name gives way to that of Ramesses II. The shapes that capture the modern imagination are not blueprints of lost machines, but palimpsests, ghostly traces of royal rivalry and the slow erosion of time. In the fading light of the temple, the carvings warn of how easily the mind finds patterns where none were meant, and how even stone can play tricks on those searching for secrets in the shadows. In the dusty layers of southern Mesopotamia, archaeologists uncovered a series of small terracotta figures that defy easy explanation. These are the Ubaid lizard figurines, shaped by unknown hands between 5000 BCE and 4000 BCE, centuries before the first Sumerian cities rose from the floodplains. Each figure stands a few inches high, molded with elongated heads, wide almond-shaped eyes, and slender bodies whose arms sometimes cradle infants or press ritual objects to their chests. The faces are unmistakably reptilian, with scales and pointed snouts that set them apart from every other artifact of the Ubaid period. The effect is quietly enigmatic. A curator at the British Museum, one of the few people to handle an original, describes the style as both deliberate and perplexing. The figurines appear in layers alongside ordinary pottery, beads and tools, yet nothing in the surrounding context hints at their meaning. No inscriptions, no mythic texts, no murals or carvings echo these lizard-like forms. Scholars have compared them to fertility idols, shamanic figures, even household guardians, but each theory runs aground on the same silence. There is simply no written record to guide interpretation. Some have tried to link the Ubaid figures to tales of ancient gods or visitors from the sky, but mainstream experts warn against reading too much into their strange appearance. Stephanie Daly, an Assyriologist, points out that even in cultures with rich mythologies, symbolic art can escape easy decoding. With the Ubaid lizard figures, the absence of textual clues leaves only the clay itself, silent, enigmatic, and waiting for a story that may never be found. In the highlands of eastern Tibet, stories swirl about a set of mysterious stone discs, each roughly 30 centimeters across, carved with a shallow spiral groove. The legend begins in 1938, when an expedition led by Chipute reportedly unearthed these so-called Dropa stones from a cave in the Bayan Ha Mountains. The discs are said to bear tiny pictographs spiraling toward the center, hinting at messages from a lost tribe or visitors from the sky. This is the start of a mystery. For decades, photographs circulated in fringe publications, showing weathered discs with indecipherable markings. Yet, when forensic analysts set out to verify these claims, the trail quickly went cold. Questions about provenance and authenticity replaced the initial excitement, and many of the original claims could not be supported. No museum has ever produced a Dropa stone for independent study. Requests for access are met with silence or outright denial. The original site has never been properly documented, and no stratigraphic records or excavation reports exist in any scientific archive. Analysts examining the available photographs have flagged signs of tampering, lighting inconsistencies, repeated patterns, and even evidence of modern engraving tools. The physical evidence is missing or suspect. A forensic specialist reviewing the most widely circulated images noted that there are no verifiable samples, no context, and no scientific data, only stories and retouched photographs. Without physical access, there can be no material analysis, no dating, and no microscopic inspection of the grooves. The absence of provenience, the documented history of an artifact from its discovery to the present, casts a long shadow over every extraordinary claim. Provenience matters. Still, the Dropa stones persist in popular imagination, their story retold in books and websites, each version more elaborate than the last. The tale takes on a life of its own, fed by longing for contact with the unknown and a hunger for wonder. The public fascination reveals as much about us as it does about the stones. Imagination fills the gaps. In the end, the Dropa stones teach a hard lesson. In archaeology, evidence is everything, and in its absence, the line between discovery and invention grows dangerously thin. The mystery remains, but for serious inquiry to proceed, verifiable evidence must come first. Deep inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, narrow shafts snake upward through limestone, some barely wider than a man's forearm. These channels, measuring just 13 to 20 centimeters across, run from the king's and queen's chambers, angling toward the pyramid's flanks before vanishing behind solid stone. For centuries, their purpose has eluded explanation. In 1993, a robotic engineer named Rudolf Gantenbrink guided a custom-built crawler called Upuau into one of the Queen's chamber shafts. The robot's camera crept forward, its lights illuminating smooth walls and at the end, a polished limestone block set with 2 copper pins, sealed for more than 4,000 years. The shaft stopped dead, neither reaching the outside nor connecting to any known passage. 2 decades later, a new generation of explorers took up the challenge. The Jedi Project, led by a team of engineers and Egyptologists, sent a snake-like robot even deeper. Its fiber-optic probe slipped through a drilled hole in the limestone door, revealing a hidden cavity beyond. Then another stone, again unbroken. The copper pins, once thought to be handles or hinges, showed no sign of wear. There was no soot, no airflow, no evidence of workers or torches. Hidden spaces remained behind each door. Meanwhile, physicists from the Scan Pyramids mission scanned the monument with cosmic ray muons, mapping the density of stone from within. Their results, released between 2017 and 2022, revealed not only the known shafts, but also a vast, unexplained void above the Grand Gallery. An empty space the length of a passenger jet, untouched since the pyramid's construction. That void appeared without warning. No ancient text describes these features. Some Egyptologists propose the shafts were star pointers, aligned with Orion or Sirius. Others suggest spiritual tunnels or acoustic chambers for rituals lost to time. Yet the copper pins, the sealed doors, and the silent voids refuse to yield their secrets. The shafts are neither functional corridors nor simple air vents. They remain a puzzle, precise, deliberate, and unresolved, carved into the heart of a monument built to last forever. What message, if any, did the builders intend to send through these hidden channels of stone? Today, ground-penetrating radar and AI analysis reveal new secrets beneath our feet. Yet the core mysteries endure, defying every theory. As ancient puzzles outlast empires and scientific trends, they remind us that what we think we know is always provisional. Every unanswered question is an invitation to look deeper. The unknown is not just a relic, it is the frontier that shapes our future. What secret do you think still lies buried? Share your thoughts below.